All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Torn Tuesday, your weekly dose of all things Lord of the Rings. And we have an exciting show for you today. As you know, Torn Tuesday has been going on for over 12 years, staying near 13. And I am joined, as always, by Quick Beam 2000 himself, Mr. Clifford Broadway.
Hello there. Hey, can you hear me okay? My friends, my folks, I'm about to change my audio settings just in case you don't hear me very well. And
We hear you
voila.
great, actually.
Now, you shouldn't hear any echo of my own voice coming through the speaker. Is that better? Nice.
I don't know if that's
Okay.
better, but your silky smooth baritone
Listen to that.
feels right.
That's why I get so many weddings. I had an amazing weekend where I went to meet hundreds and hundreds of beautiful brides and grooms who want to hire me to be their wedding officiant. And most of them were just like, "Do you do voiceover work?" They all ask the same question. They're like, "Oh my gosh, where did you get that voice?" I hear it all the time. And I keep thinking, that's very sweet. Thank you very much. And if I'm lucky, I'm going to keep on marrying people left and right. In fact, I've been making a lot of jokes online about flying across country to marry people, but of course, I'm based here in Southern California. Can I say hello, Justin, and welcome everybody to Torn Tuesday? It is a lovely, lovely day. We have a break in the weather. There's no more clouds and rain. It's suddenly beautiful, 80 degrees and sunny. No more rain here in Southern California. And I'm delighted to see the whole group, the fellowship of our wonderful fans and people come to join us and talk about the closing votes, the championship voting round on Middle Earth March Madness. What a bracket, what a year of voting and talking about magical moments. Will we
And
have,
I've been told that the
oh,
final
yes,
voting
oh,
goes
yes,
until 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern, which is you have another 27 minutes to get your last
yes,
minute
you
vote
do.
in for the championship, and then at 5:30,
We'll
the
declare the
admins are
championship after the voting is done live right here.
right
Okay,
here. I don't
okay,
even know where it stands right now.
that's
So
delightful.
at around 5:30, probably a few minutes later. So by the end of the show, we're going to tell you who won.
We're
So
going to know
it's
who the
not
winner
too
is.
late, to get your chance. But I should bring this up because Cliff, we have breaking news.
Tell me.
Like so hot, so breaking. I haven't even had a chance to spell check it. Um, this is
Is it?
hotter than Middle Earth March Madness.
Tell me.
Or
This is exciting.
uh, CinemaCon is currently happening right now, and we
Oh,
can
that's right.
confirm officially as we speak on stage in Las Vegas that Warner Brothers president Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi have confirmed that War of the Rohirrim is not moving its release date. It is Warner Brothers' official big Christmas holiday season movie, December
Excellent.
12th, for a worldwide release. That's right, folks.
Excellent.
We can confirm without a doubt that they have told every theatrical cinema owner in the world that War of the Rohirrim is full systems go, and it is confirmed, no doubt, for a December release. That is the breaking news. Now, CinemaCon just started for the Warner Brothers presentation. It's expected to go an hour and a half to 2 hours. It started at 4. So it's in the middle of its presentation. They're showing theater owners all of the movies that are going to be released in the next year or two to help cinema owners really get a sense of how Warner Brothers is supporting theatrical business, to get them
Indeed.
hype about what movies are coming out, and to give them a preview of the movies and the stars and the directors, so that maybe the theater owners can allocate how many screens on opening weekend to this movie, to a Warner Brothers movie. And Cliff, you once went to CinemaCon,
I
I
did.
believe, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, there was a time when Peter Jackson was about to unveil the very first Hobbit movie. And at that time, we thought it would be two, only two Hobbit films. Really, we didn't know there would be three. And this was, before the release of An Unexpected Journey. And Peter wanted to show all of the movie theater owners what it looked like to have a high frame rate, 48 frames per second high frame rate, HFR. And that was when I went all the way out to Las Vegas. It was a long drive, believe me. And I had to come right back after doing CinemaCon. I had to take a phone call from New Line Cinema, and Gordon Pattison was calling me on the phone while I was driving down the interstate trying to get back to California, trying to find out what we really thought high frame rate would look like. And it was
because you can't describe it. You just have to see it for yourself, and you had a hard time describing it.
Well, it's not a film-like look, as we all know, because many of us saw it. It doesn't look very much film-like, but if you saw some interesting changes in the frame rate when you watched Avatar: The Way of Water, you may, and we've had this conversation before, you may have seen what a little bit of high frame rate looks like when it's intercut with other regular speed film. It's been very interesting. But, that was a hard sell. They had to convince back then. They had to convince and work against the expectation that it would look any good. Now, this is different.
Well, not only that,
this is very different. This is an easy sell for Warner Brothers to say, look what we've got. We've got the War of the Rohirrim. It's not a hard sell at all.
It's a different sell. I will say this, that Cliff, when you were there, Warner Brothers not only was trying to sell everybody on a Hobbit movie, they were trying to convince theater owners to upgrade the projectors to digital cinema to support 48 frames per second. Indeed they were. Well, so, but you were there. What's the vibe in the room? Like give us a sense of who is in that room, what type of personalities are in there.
It's totally different from Hall H. It's not that vibe when you're in a big crowded room at Comic-Con and fans are twittering and excited, and you can hear them really talking and whispers and conversation rippling through the room. It's not like that. It's more like a business presentation, kind of like when Google had their recent big platform, their big main stage presentation at a seminar, and they were unveiling some of their new customer service AI stuff, where they're using some of their new data collection AI to handle people purchasing and doing customer service online. And everybody in the audience, even at the Google presentation, was very quiet and attentive and trying to pick up all the details. It's not like
this is a business conference.
This is not
for film fans or anything. This is a business conference.
Not like that. It is the opposite of a party vibe. And we know what they're trying to do. They're trying to make money decisions. And that's what's on their mind. They're trying to make money decisions about how much they're going to show, what kind of allowances they're going to give to the studios who were like, we demand you install a 70 millimeter projector. Well, why do you want me to spend that much money to put a 70 millimeter projector in my theater? Because you're not going to show our movie without it. So it's that kind of back and forth. You know what I mean? They're trying to make business decisions.
That's right. Yeah. And so Warner Brothers is currently in the middle, as we speak right now, in the middle. It's not live streamed. There are no cameras allowed. There's no footage being uploaded to the internet. This is for theater owners and certain press only.
Indeed. Entertainment journalists.
Warner Brothers has previewed a new logo for James Gunn's Superman, which is coming out in summer 2025.
Can we show it? Do we have it?
We don't have it. Again, okay. No photos, no video. They also have showed a 12-minute preview of Mad Max Furiosa with Chris Hemsworth and Anya Taylor-Joy, directed by George Miller. They showed Mickey 17 with Bong Joon-ho and Robert Pattinson. They just gave an award to Kevin Costner. He's got a huge new Western 2-part 2-film epic coming out this summer through Warner Brothers. Kevin Costner's there, so he just got off stage. By the way, we haven't talked about Viggo Mortensen's Western. His second movie that he's directed is a Western.
Yes.
Viggo is coming back to theaters. We're going to have more on that in a future Torn Tuesday. But today we're talking about CinemaCon that's going on right now, We've got spies in Vegas right now. They're texting me if anything shows up.
Ooh.
Why do we think things are going to show up? Well, folks, when when Warner Brothers opened their huge presentation with stars in attendance, they've got Anya Taylor-Joy on stage. They got Michael Keaton talking about Beetlejuice on stage in just a couple minutes. They've brought all the stars out to impress the business owners and theater owners. They're here to impress everybody.
Yes.
And you know what movie they opened up? The very first movie that they talked about was saying War of the Rohirrim is opening on Christmas. The very first movie that Warner Brothers announced at their presentation is Lord of the Rings. That's how important this movie is.
Yes,
coincidentally, Cliff, coincidentally,
there isn't any other film that Warner Brothers would open their keynote presentation with.
I don't know. Mad Max is pretty big, and they just made Barbie had a huge hit. Well, at the same time that CinemaCon started, Stephen Gallagher. Hold on.
Who looks a little bit like Matt, Nerd of the Rings, in that picture.
Stephen Gallagher posted this. Let's see this.
That's funny. I'm being facetious.
Where'd it go? Stephen Gallagher posted this just minutes ago as the presentation started. Yes, that is a little Weta workshop action figure of Eowyn with his cat and with his keyboard that he is composing War of the Rohirrim 2. So, and he posted it without comment. So, the fact that Stephen Gallagher, the composer of War of the Rohirrim, is posting a picture of Eowyn at the same moment that they're talking about it on stage in Vegas. I mean, all signs point to a potential more footage being screened in just a few short minutes there in Vegas. Cliff, how important is CinemaCon? I mean, everyone knows that a Lord of the Rings movie is going to make a ton of money, but what challenges do they have with this movie? Because it's anime, because it's not Peter Jackson, because it's not Howard Shore, and it's not Amazon's show. It's unrelated. So how do they communicate all of the pluses when there are so many minuses? Not minuses, but lack of familiarity. Like I just said,
challenges.
Those three things.
Like if you're gonna every time you're working in, if you're working on basically if you're doing a fundraiser or a thing to raise crowdfunding online for your film, you're required to spend a whole paragraph on risks. Okay, you're telling the people who are investing in your film on crowdfunding what are the risks and what are the advantages, so that you can at least sound like you are aware of the marketplace and you know where your film project will potentially fit into the marketplace. Okay, so take that little paragraph that you would put on a Kickstarter page where you do describe for future investors, hey, drop $25 on my little indie film, but here's what we're doing to our advantage to position our film to an advantage, and here are the risks in the marketplace that will be a disadvantage to us. That's what CinemaCon is all about, but it's written large on a much more industrial scale, so that these people who are the franchise owners, we're talking Regal Cinemas, AMC Cinemas, who have an entire franchise chains and chains of theaters around the country. But you also have smaller theater owners, and they need to understand, why should we risk putting your movie on our valuable screens? Are we going to be able to sell the tickets? Are we going to be able to meet the cost that it's going to cost us to get that spool of film over in our theater so that we can get butts in the seats and sell some concessions and make our money?
All right.
It's about a business decision. That's what it's all about.
Cliff, you have a great stage presence. You have a great speaking voice. Let's role play right now. You are the studio executive. You are the president of Warner Brothers. You're on stage in Vegas, and I'm a theater owner. And like the chat comment says at the bottom, it being anime is by far a biggest challenge. I don't see an anime film being a big hit. Why should I give it 8 of my screens in December when Disney might have a big hit coming out that same weekend?
Hello, my name is David Zaslav, and I'm the head of Warner Brothers Discovery. First of all, I want to apologize to everyone in the world for the abuse that we put our animators through with regard to Coyote versus Acme and the other dumb decisions we've made as a studio. But we're not dumb anymore. We're going to do something smart this year. Pay attention, everybody, here at CinemaCon, and I want you to follow me. The reason why War of the Rohirrim the reason why War of the Rohirrim is going to really, really do exceptionally well in the marketplace is because other adaptations of The Lord of the Rings haven't haven't reached the heights that they wanted to, but we have it. We have the original designs and elements. We have the license to third age stories, and most of all, we are aware with absolute data. We have many matrices of data that we've checked. But according to our number crunching, the audience is terribly thirsty for anime. And the proof is in the recent arrival of Miyazaki and his film, The Boy and the Heron, which was released completely independently through G Kids USA, not through any of our large-scale distribution arms. But even a smaller release like Boy and the Heron got to the #1 spot in the American box office, and we're looking at the performance numbers of anime on Netflix and other big streaming platforms, and we have proof to you, all of you wonderful theater owners at CinemaCon, that this movie, with its pedigree coming from Philippa Boyens and the team at Weta in New Zealand, and being based on the original 3-film Oscar-winning trilogy that Peter Jackson made, and in fact, with the numbers showing us the huge appetite for anime in North America, we're guaranteeing you that if you give the War of the Rohirrim a valuable 4-week Christmas window, don't worry about the other studios and whatever else they're going to release. It might be Despicable Me Part 5 or 6. That ain't it. That's not going to make the money this Christmas. You should put our movie in your theater for 4 weeks. This is David Zaslav signing off. I'm going to go donate my golden parachute to all of the people who work for me at the studio, and that's what we call trickle-down economy.
Sir, I don't think I can commit that many screens to War of the Rohirrim because you haven't told me anything that the movie has going for it. Because a lot of our viewers, a lot of our families came to watch The Boy and the Heron because Robert Pattinson was the voice of the Heron, wasn't he? That's some big star power, and he put his all into playing the bird. So are there any stars attached to War of the Rohirrim?
Oh, did I fail to mention the return of fan favorite Miranda Otto, who played the actual original Shield Maiden of Rohan? That would be Éowyn. Éowyn responsible for the greatest kill in all of Lord of the Rings trilogy history. The greatest kill of the big boss monster. That was Éowyn. So she's coming back along with multiple Emmy-winning actor Brian Cox, hot off the heels of HBO's Succession. And those are our big top name animation voiceover actors in our roster.
Brian Cox.
Brian Cox is joining us, as is the original character Miranda Otto, reprising her role as Éowyn. So come and check out our little sneak preview. Come on, stay right here in this auditorium, ladies and gentlemen. Sit tight. We're going to give you a quick 7-8 minute preview. Let's watch. And then the lights go down, the house lights go down, and the CEOs step off the stage, and they bring the screen up, and they actually show, in the most tantalizing way they can, something that's really different. And everybody knows, at least on our end, on the receiving end, we know as fans what a teaser trailer looks like, what a final trailer looks like. We know all that stuff. But the stuff that they show at CinemaCon is not like that. They don't just show a quick edited weird trailer, which is supposed to be mass consumption by everybody at the Super Bowl as a commercial. They literally sit down and show chunks, scenes, establishing scenes. Characters get established. they show sizable chunks in a big 9 or 10 minute special preview. And then the people who own Regal Cinemas and AMC and all of them, they get to debate and decide how many weeks are we going to give up. Valuable real estate. That is going to be house number 1 and house number 3. And then we'll program some other movies in houses 2, 4, 5, and 6. But in 1 and 3, we're going to put in War of the Rohirrim right before Christmas. Unfortunately,
all right. So this is a whole. This is a whole.
I'm sorry, Mike, you got me into the role playing now, but they do get down into difficult decisions that are based on a lot of wild variables. And there are other films coming out that we're not even talking about on our program. But at CinemaCon, they cover comprehensively everything that's coming out in the movie marketplace.
All right. Well, we're gonna keep updates. I've got people texting me. We got the feed going on. So if War of the Rohirrim information comes out during this show, during our show while at CinemaCon, we'll break into it. But we've got other news from the week. I guess we should just jump into it.
Some fans want us to say a quick word about WonderCon, which we just experienced last weekend.
Well, as we told you last week, we can't talk about WonderCon. We told you that what happens at WonderCon stays at WonderCon. There are things in that presentation that we can't put online. So we hope to see you at our next convention, because we always bring the goods at the convention.
We do. But I do want to say it was a lovely experience. We had a great experience, and I'm overdue in writing up my little convention report, which would show some great cosplay and tell you a little bit of insights into our presence at the convention. But it really, really was lovely. Really.
You might have seen everything go dark yesterday. There was a solar eclipse that went across the United States this year. The next one is in 2 years, and it goes across Spain and Portugal. And Tea with Tolkien posted this wonderful quote from Tolkien, and I don't know if you can see that, Cliff.
Not much. It's small.
It is.
Let's go full screen. I can see it now. Let's go full screen. Let's take a look.
All right, let's go there. Boom.
But Tilion went with uncertain pace, as yet he goes, and was still drawn towards Arien, as he shall ever be, so that often both may be seen above the earth together. Or at times it will chance that he comes so nigh that his shadow cuts off her brightness, and there is a darkness amid the day. Love that. That's really lovely.
Wait, so Cliff, Tolkien really writes about an eclipse in Middle Earth, and they are characters?
Well, I mean, Eärendil, the story from the Silmarillion about Eärendil and how he became the guiding star, which is Venus, the morning star. Yeah, well, these are
this is
stories
the
from
sun. Who's Laureline and Arien?
Yeah, of course. All right. The Tale of the Sun and the Moon. Okay, this is where we learn about how the moon and the sun were created in this story of the Silmarillion as the remaining fruit and the flower from the trees that had been destroyed by Morgoth. The 2 trees were gone, but because of the power of Lorien and Vana, who were 2 other Maiar spirits, they tried to revive the 2 trees with elf song and magic substances, but they failed. Okay, so and there ended up here. Listen to this right here. The moon is also put in the skies. Okay, shaped after a rose from Silpion and ridden by Tilion. An explanation is given for the cycles of the moon's radiance. Urwendi, later Arien, Tilion's lover, seeks likewise to pilot the sun and is not allowed to. So a Maya spirit who became the guardian of the moon. And these tales all come from, how, and I know I'm messing it all up, but, you know, there's some beautiful details about how Tolkien put together this cosmology. And I recommend everybody take a closer look. Uh, Look at this. I love that Tea with Tolkien puts this up on her pages. This is really lovely stuff. Um,
I
so
just didn't know that Tolkien had created a mythological foundation for the eclipse in his writings.
he does mention it. Um, so it is it's a lovely story, and it involves it involves the everything that he wanted to put together about how the cosmos works involves these Maiar and Valar spirits, and usually an unfortunate interaction from Morgoth. So there are different versions. Arion, the sun, is a heavenly creation of Ole. He and his Maiar made a vessel to hold the radiance of the last fruit of the tree Laurelin. And the vessel of the sun was guided across the skies by Arion. So the guy who created the dwarves, the Valar, and his name is Ole. He is the deity who created the dwarves prematurely, and Iluvatar said, no, 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 the dwarves have to go back to sleep under the mountain until I make the elves first. The elves have to be the firstborn children of Iluvatar. So Ole put the dwarves back to sleep, and they came back into the earth later on. But before any of that happened, Ole was trying to help out after the destruction, after Morgoth and Ungoliant, the great spider, had destroyed the two trees. They're trying to save what was left. There was one fruit left over from Laurelin, the gold tree, which was a source of light, and there was one flower left from Telperion, and one became, the sun, and one became the moon. And
Wait, so the two trees that we saw in the prologue to Rings of Power actually become the sun and the moon?
they become the source of the sun and the moon. Yeah, later on, this is true.
And
Yes.
do elves make the sun and the moon, or is it a Maiar or a Valar spirit
No,
that?
the elves didn't know. It's all the Maiar spirits, along with the Valar helping, very much so. Or I should say vice versa. It's the Valar with the Maiar helping to great degree. And so, there was one single flower, just one flower and one fruit was all that was left. And those objects from the trees became the moon and the sun.
The next question I have for you, Cliff, before we move on the trees turning into the sun and the moon, and then there's eclipses in Middle Earth. This is all based in the Silmarillion. Warner Brothers and Amazon have the same exact rights to only stuff mentioned in Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit books and the Lord of the Rings appendices. So none of this could be put to screen, right? We're never going to see actual, like, Laurelin become the sun, right? Is there any way that this mythology that goes from the trees to the sun and the moon can be put to screen, or not in these rights?
I wonder.
Because all of this is in the Silmarillion. Like, I don't remember any of this in the appendices.
No, it's all Silmarillion stuff. So if the weird rumors are true, and the second season of the Rings of Power has limited access or case by case access granted to them for certain tales, and they do wander into the creation mythology of the Ainu Lindale, the music of the Ainur, then maybe they'll show us this stuff that happens with the destruction of the two trees is way, way, way later after the creation story. So maybe they won't show this much at all. Maybe their concerns are about the earliest, existing angelic forms of Valar and Maiar. Maybe they're going to show stuff before Arda, the planet, is even fully created. Maybe. I don't know.
But it's
I'm
interesting
I'm
that they
intrigued
worked
by
in
it.
this piece of dialogue that Jimmy Mack brings up. In ROP, Galadriel says the Earth was so young that there had not been a sunrise.
That is correct. I'm glad. I was just about to mention that Jimmy Mack appropriately said that. That's exactly right. There was a light source from the two trees. There was no rotating bodies of a moon or a sun at that time. It's true.
Interesting. So that was a huge Eclipse moment, and we hope you guys learned something. Thank you to Tea with Tolkien for reminding us about Tolkien's discussion on the Silmarillion. Other news: happy birthday, Hugo Weaving. Hugo Weaving was originally not cast as Elrond. He was working on The Matrix that was shooting in Australia with the Matrix producer Barry Osborne. When Barry Osborne completed work in Australia on The Matrix, Warner Brothers called and said, "Hey man, we could use your help on this Peter Jackson movie that is like a 2-hour flight in New Zealand. Can you pop over and meet with Peter Jackson and see if you can help?" Barry Osborne eventually became the executive producer alongside Mark Rordesky to put all of it into production. And Barry Osborne specifically is responsible for bringing Hugo Weaving, who he had just worked with on Matrix. He's like, "Hey, I got another job for you. Why don't you come over here to New Zealand?" And that's how Hugo Weaving joined Lord of the Rings.
That's right.
Is there, with Warner Brothers at CinemaCon right now, is there any stories with Elrond, Cliff, that you would like to see brought into a Lord of the Rings spin-off movie starring Hugo Weaving?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would very, very, very much like to see a whole spin-off Elrond movie. Wouldn't
Of
you?
what? I don't know. You tell. I'm asking you. What could possibly be the movie? What movie? What is the main movie? Give us a title. All right. Let's role play again. You're the studio exec. Give us the log line, the title, and the log line for Elrond's spinoff.
That's so funny. You are so funny. Well, to tell you the truth, instead of doing the whole thing, and this was mentioned by somebody on our panel, if I'm not mistaken, but there's a wife, an extraordinary wife and mother. She is the wife of Elrond, and she is the mother of Arwen, okay? And her name is Celebrian, and we've never seen her story. And I think that's one of the really interesting things that we want to see is this, it's kind of a tragic story, but, you know, Celebrian, you know, her mother refused to return to Tol Eressëa and go back to Valinor. And so, you know, she lived with her mother, Galadriel and Eregion. So after a time, you know, Celebrian went through Khazad-dûm back when, you know, they were still friendly with the dwarves and there was no Balrog yet. And then she went to dwell in Rivendell. Rivendell had been newly founded by our young man, Elrond. He might have been a younger version of Hugo Weaving. So Elrond, he loved her very much, but he said nothing about it. And then years later, I mean, many, many years later, Elrond and Celebrian were wed, and they had the two sons, Elladan and Elrohir, and they had a daughter named Arwen. Of course, you know Arwen. So she has a really sad story where she was trying to travel back to visit her parents in Lothlorien, and she got attacked by orcs going over the Redhorn Pass over the Misty Mountains, which is the same mountain pass that the Fellowship is attempting to go over, and it gets covered in snow because of Saruman sending the storms. So it's that Redhorn Pass where, you know, poor Celebrian was attacked, and she was tormented by the orcs, and she received a poison wound. And then there was a gallant rescue. So here come her twin sons, and this would be the coolest story, I think, to have Elladan and Elrohir come to rescue her. And And then Elrond, being a healer, he healed her, but she was never fully healed in mind and spirit. And here's the analog to Frodo. Celebrian and Frodo have a direct parallel in that they suffered wounds and never felt fully healed. And so they didn't feel that it was right to stay in Middle Earth, and instead sailed west over to Valinor to get real healing. And that's there's a reason why Aladan and Elrohir should have been in some of these adaptations. Like, another popular take is that there would be a young Aragorn story. Young Aragorn, when he was a young ranger, hiding his identity and helping out with little adventures in the northern countries. But he wasn't alone. Even young Aragorn running around and learning the ways of the Dunedain rangers and learning the ways of the wild and how to survive, how to hunt, how to track, and how to be of service. He was being helped the whole time by those twin elves. And that would be really cool to have that whole background. It's like maybe the movie would be called The House of Elrond. That's the title of the movie, The House of Elrond. And it's that family, their backstory, the three children.
That sounds like an interesting
Okay.
TV show that I would
be
want to
great,
tune
yeah.
into every week. 15 episodes a season. Just the House of Elrond and
House of
all
Elrond. Yeah. Starting from
That sounds great.
Isn't it great? Starting from the founding of Imladris, which is the Elvish name for Rivendell, the founding of the hidden buildings, the hidden place of Rivendell, all the way up to the romance between, Galadriel's daughter, Celebrian, and Elrond, and then something else happens. A bad
I like
journey
the family
goes
movie,
bad,
like that.
the family rescuing her. Yeah.
My pitch is it's just like the other Warner Brothers
Ooh,
franchise movie,
good.
the Joker,
Good.
was a character study in mental health with a layer of DC Comics on it, even though it doesn't really resemble any many stories of the Joker. Right? They basically just told a noir 70s movie with the Joker. I like the idea of telling a classic. It's not like a romantic drama, but just a family workplace. It's like a family drama with
like
Elrond and his
Yellowstone
sons.
in Middle Earth. Yes.
Yeah,
Family
but
dynasty
yeah,
in Middle Earth.
a family dynasty. I like
Middle
this
Earth.
dynasty or Yellowstone with Elrond and his family. You have twin sons. You have a daughter that is falling in love with your kind of adopted
Son, yeah.
son,
And
kind of
you're
like
trying to keep his
Tolkien.
identity secret all the time so the enemy don't come sniffing around. And I love that T.D. Matthew actually said, and it was really good, he said, how about The Last Homely House? Wouldn't that be a better title? Said T.D. Matthew. And you know what? That's what Tolkien referred to Rivendell when he first created this place in The Hobbit. When you read about Rivendell for the very first time, it is referred to, even on the map, it's referred to as the last homely house.
All right,
Yes.
Cliff, you're the studio exec. You have the title, The Last Lord of the Rings, The Last Homely House. Give me the 2-sentence log line of the movie.
Oh, God. The art of writing a log line is really complex. You have to really focus and boil.
That's what I'm saying. Focus. Lord Elrond manages a house full of magic.
Lord, Elrond, the one who chose to be an elf, not a.
That's too
mortal
much.
man.
You're getting too descriptive. Lord Elrond tries to keep his household together with a rambunctious pair of twin sons, a daughter that is falling in love
That's so
with.
no. Okay. No, it'd be more like after. Okay, after the distribution of the rings, our family saga covers the family dynasty of elves who later become the most notable players in the War of the Ring. I don't know. I mean, but yeah, it'd be more like um, after the.
Oh my God, this is great.
It is so hard. That's a good one. He saved the world, but he couldn't save his wife. Man, that's
Oh my
tough.
God.
Well, that's not a log line, okay? That is a great marketing.
That's a poster tagline. That's a
poster
tagline.
tag. Yeah, poster
That is
tagline.
that Lord of the Rings, the last homely house. Big picture of Elrond, Hugo Weaving. He saved the world, but he couldn't save his wife. In theaters this Christmas.
Yeah, how about that? I think it'd be really cool. The House of Elrond. Because it could overlap with young Aragorn. It could overlap with the rings of power being distributed to everyone. But it could also overlap with a lot of people and situations that will be seeded and they will be rewarding later on in the War of the Ring. When that story.
I like this. Well, this is the brainstorming that is happening in Hollywood right now because Warner Brothers is making more movies. Amazon is expected to make more spin-off TV shows. Everything's in play, but it has to be based from the Lord of the Rings. You can't do the story of the Eclipse because that's the Silmarillion. So this is firmly in the rights that the two studios have. It's great to see some of our familiar faces contributing to the chat. I love you, TD, Matthew, Emily. It's been a while since we've seen you. Emily Cheatham is dialing in from
England,
from the land of Tolkien.
Welcome, welcome, our friends.
Oh, so what do we like this? The Last House of Elves. Is that a better? I kind of like that. That's
Maybe.
more universal. You don't like it. The studio head has said, come up with his hesitation. You have to impress the studio head. Put it in the chat. What is the best title for the studio head right here to judge on this movie about Elrond? And it's a family saga of managing a home under all of the fading magic of the elves and there's so much to do. I kind of like this.
There is,
and
I mean,
Hugo Weaving, we'd love to see him back.
See, Rivendell was a place of great military strategery during the Third Age, and we're talking about all the stuff that happened with the Northern Kingdoms, who fell into strife with one another. The Northern Kingdom, which is not Gondor, but was Arnor, and it was split into Arthedain, Rhudaur, and Cardolan. But the Northern Kingdom of Arnor falling apart, and the invasions and the battles with the Witch King of Angmar, and all that stuff, Elrond and his family were involved in all of that. And yeah, Lincoln O'Brien, just Rivendell. Thank you, Lincoln. That's a great idea.
So I don't think that's a good movie title for Lord of the Rings. I think that's a great TV show title. If Amazon were to do a spin-off series of Elrond and his house, I like the idea of Rivendell. In fact, if Amazon made a show called Rivendell and it had all the drama of Riverdale, I will be their biggest fan, and my dream will finally come true. Anyway, we're not...
The same comparison. There's nothing... All we need to do is stick Archie, Jughead, Betty and Veronica, and maybe even Moose. And just stick them in Middle-earth somewhere just to make you happy.
Why did I read this?
To make you happy.
Why did I read Lincoln O'Brien's comment like Justin Timberlake in The Social Network? It's cleaner.
It's cleaner. Well, yeah, it would be like, the family saga of the last homely house, where rangers will seek refuge and the lives of the immortal elves are challenged by enemies and alliances. And
enemies without and within.
Enemies without and within. But they didn't have any. I mean, it could be really, really cool kind of show. But yeah, I agree with your first assessment, Justin. It sounds more like a a cool, longer form television series.
Uh, well, that's great. Happy birthday, Hugo Weaving. He's not the only birthday boy.
Hey,
Our
a
boy
reindeer.
Ismail Cruz Cordova. Happy
Yes.
birthday. He has been
Happy
in
birthday.
Star Wars The Mandalorian.
Mhm.
He has been, and he is one of the stars. In fact, I would say he is the breakout star of Rings of Power. A guy plucked from obscurity to where we all know his name. And his name
Yep.
is Ismail.
He is the most badass new elf in Middle Earth. The best. He's just the
And
coolest.
and
He's the
and
coolest.
you know,
Yeah.
there's been we reported so many rumors that he didn't have a big role to play in season 2, and I think that is the biggest mistake. This is your breakout star. I mean, if Lord of the Rings of Power gets better and becomes a cultural moment, he will just be known as Ismail. You know, like Gaga, like Rihanna. Like
Ismail.
he is that powerful of an actor.
Like
And
the
he is
opening
hungry.
line. Like the opening line of Moby Dick. Call me Ismail. Which is the most famous opening line of Moby Dick by Herman Melville. Daniel.
We are the
Daniel,
biggest fan.
Appreciate you saying that, Daniel. He is my favorite protagonist. I loved Arondir. And hey, Nigel. Hello, Nigel, champion. Any new word on War of the Rohirrim? Well, as we said at the top of the hour, just a little while ago, we're waiting with spies.
We're
keeping a tab on little birdies that are sending spy reports from CinemaCon. Right now, Warner Brothers Discovery.
As we speak.
They've
got so many movies.
They're doing a big presentation at CinemaCon right now, and they're probably going to be showing stuff from the War of the Rohirrim. So let's find out by the end of the hour what our spies will tell us.
Right now, they finished with M. Night Shyamalan and his daughter getting her first movie that he is producing. M. Night's daughter is producing. So Miss Shyamalan has her feature debut. And I mention this because Oscar winner Philippa Boyan's daughter is making her debut with War of the Rohirrim. So there is definitely a family affair happening inside Warner Brothers where they are encouraging their best talent to say, "Hey, bring your kids along." And this is great to see. Michael Keaton just showed up on stage for Beetlejuice.
Who's excited? Raise your hand in the chat if you're excited for Beetlejuice, because I sure am. I'm so excited for that.
Beetlejuice is probably the closest Peter Jackson type film, right? Like Peter Jackson was all into that kind of horror comedy.
Oh, The Frighteners. Yeah, look, The Frighteners would not have been made by Universal if other horror comedy like Beetlejuice hadn't become, so successful. I mean, provably successful. I mean, yeah, there's a lot to appreciate for mixing horror and comedy. Back in the 80s, there was always Fright Night and other movies like that did a great blending of comedy and horror.
That's right. Well, we're keeping tabs on CinemaCon. Yeah. Before we let this go, is there enough story for Arondir to get his own spinoff? Or do you think the show, Rings of Power, could set up this tangent story that starts to play out in real time? Rather than retelling like history that is assumed in the thing, like could Rings of Power be setting up its own spinoff for Ismail? Like the Arondir show? And we go on adventures with him?
Maybe. I hadn't thought about that.
Could he found the Northern Elves? I mean, could he bring them to the Battle of the Last Alliance? I mean, could he be responsible for a certain faction of elves at the foot of Mount Doom showing up?
I wonder. And you're right. Yes, that was with Chris Sarandon. Yeah, that's right. I think that there's much more potential for a spin-off series from Rings of Power to maybe we'll know more about this by the time we get to seasons 2 and 3 when they have more character establishment going even further down the road. But why not young Isildur having, you know, some side adventure of his own? Why not? Because he's such a young character, and so many interesting things can happen. Wow, I wonder.
Yeah. So happy birthday,
Yeah.
Ismail. We're really happy for you, and we're so happy you're involved in this show. Today is Matt's birthday. Yes, happy birthday, Matt. Y'all go to Twitter, go to his YouTube, his latest YouTube video, and wish him happy birthday from Torn, because I don't think he posted it publicly. But today is Matt Nerd of the Rings' birthday. So happy birthday to
Wow, I
our
didn't
boy.
know that. He
So,
he knows how
and
to
that,
keep it secret and keep it safe, because I didn't even know that.
well, Cliff, you do know the other news with Nerd of the Rings, and we're
What's that?
really excited to announce that the Tolkien Society Awards was
yes.
just posted, and guess who's nominated for
Yes.
best online content? That's right, Nerd of the Rings is right there.
Yes.
For the Tolkien Society Awards for Best Online Content of the last year. Also featured a Long Expected Soundscape, who was just in our chat room. I don't know if you're still here. Long Expected Soundscape literally was just here in this chat right now. Also, Digital Tolkien, the Tolkien Project, and In Deep Geek. Some wonderful content from all of those folks. And supposedly, like, none of them knew that they were getting nominated until this announcement. So wonderful, wonderful rewards for just being a geek and creating the content to support this fandom and this community. Anonymous Girl says, I like In Deep Geek.
Oh, he's great, and I love his voice. I love his voice and his accent on his videos. He's wonderful. And I'm telling you, it was a big, exciting day. I was so caught up in the news about the eclipse yesterday. I was also blindsided by these great announcements of the Tolkien Society offering these shortlisted nominations for different award categories, and including Best Article and Best Tolkien Scholarship Book and Best Online Content. And there's lots and lots and lots of wonderful, wonderful people who are all friends of ours. And I had to spend much of the day congratulating many people online for their nominations.
What else was nominated?
Really
Best
cool.
book of the last year. Petty Power and Tolkien's Ring.
Aside from the revised and expanded edition of the letters that was put together, by the publisher and by Humphrey Carpenter, the big highlight is Tom Hillman's book. His book, Pity, Power, and Tolkien's Ring, To Rule the Fate of Many, is an outstanding analysis, absolutely outstanding book. And it's definitely worth checking out. If you're interested in a real conversation about Gandalf saying, the pity of Bilbo may yet rule the fate of many, and if you want to get down to all the different nuances and the meanings and the machinations behind that, it's a very highly regarded book. And if I wouldn't know better, I say it's on the fast track to be the winner this year.
All right. And then the best article published by the Tolkien Society has some wonderful things.
There
and the
is.
best
And,
artwork.
there's a great article by Tom Emmanuel called By the Waters of the Anduin, We Lay Down and Wept. And we met Tom at our Bilbo Baggins birthday picnic in September, just a couple of Septembers ago, where he was there with us. And it was great to meet him. We were there with Molly, Ostertag, and everybody. It was a really great time. He's very, very intelligent. And you never know. Someday, somebody's article that has been written somewhere on the onering.net might actually get a nomination for best article some year. Who knows?
And then best artwork, I wanted to point out one of them is unlike the others. We all know Donato Giancola. He is a longtime Tolkien artist. Francesco Savi, of course, Jay Johnstone, and Matej Kadil. But this second one, and Caligon the Black versus Arendelle Sky Battle from Gil's Giles Canvas, Gillestil's Canvas. I think that's it. Gillestil's Canvas is a hardcore Rings of Power fan.
Yes.
I think he's part of the Unhinged Fellowship. I don't know if he's the Unhinged or if he's just a fan of it, but he is a huge fan of Rings of Power. He's one of the most vocal fans of Rings of Power, and it's wonderful. And he's based in Turkey.
Based in Turkey.
And there's a holiday that just started today. So congrats to this Turkish fan for his wonderful artwork being found and nominated by the Tolkien Society. It shows that Rings of Power fandom is coming up in the scholarly world. A lot of wonderful nominations. Congrats!
His artwork is good, and his Twitter feed is fantastic. Great stuff.
Yeah,
and
give him a follow. He
fan.
deserves it. He's very much a wonderful voice to have in your feed.
Yes, and it is so nice to support real human artists. Do you know what I mean? There's controversy recently from Pink Floyd, the famous progressive rock band.
We don't need to really get into AI because we talked about it last week. But the Tolkien Society awards are nominated every year. And we talked to AI last week. We don't need to talk about it again.
But that's what's so special about it, is that the Tolkien Society would never do that. The Tolkien Society.
Well, we don't know. We don't know that
in the right place.
We don't know that. A lot of people are starting to use AI in many new and interesting ways. It's only a matter of time. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Now, breaking news today.
More news.
Breaking news today. Clip, did you see the notice today? This
I did.
We reported on the Lord of the Rings
today.
A musical tale. This is a stage presentation. This is a play. This is a stage play, is it not? A retelling on stage? It is.
But the Watermill Theatre in England has created this show, and they're going to bring it to Chicago. And,
that's the big news.
The first
this
time
Lord of the
American
Rings
is really getting a chance to see this. Yeah.
This Lord of the Rings stage musical is coming to Chicago.
Yes.
So you can go to a baseball game, the Chicago Cubs, and then go see Lord of the Rings in the evening.
That should be really, really cool.
My
question is it the same musical? Is it a different musical or the same one?
It's the same one. Lord of the Rings, a musical tale. It's officially licensed. It makes its U.S. premiere at Chicago Shakespeare Theater at July 19th through September 1st. So that is a short run. Of course, it'll be extended if the ticket sales are hot. So we expect all of you to plan your summer travel and make an effort. If you go to the onering.net, we have a whole article reviewing the Lord of the Rings musical. You can just search for it. This is from August of last year. Just search for Lord of the Rings musical. You can find the article from a few months ago. And look, it's just a beautiful, look at this stage design and the costumes. This is not a cheap, one-man show. This is a fully produced Lord of the Rings stage musical with wonderful costumes and great lighting and backgrounds. And we just have a wonderful review with tons of pictures. There's tons of songs based on Tolkien's poems. I mean, just look at that photo. It's just the Lord of the Rings musical is just a wonderful experience. And just a great stage presentation. So
the music was written by A.R. Rahman and Vartina and Christopher Nightingale, and lyrics and book by Sean McKenna and Matthew Warchus. There you go. There's the credits.
Yes, this is Otaku. This is separate from the next bit of news. So the Lord of the Rings musical is coming to Chicago this July 19th through September 1st, and we highly recommend making an effort to get to Chicago to see it because it is wonderful. And hopefully the success of it will mean that it travels. But the chat room is getting ahead of us because there's other musical news we can exclusively report today.
Mm-hmm.
The Tolkien Estate has granted permission to a Lord of the Rings opera.
Boy, that's going to be interesting. This is the most interesting news I've heard in a while, really.
Now, famously, a lot of people have stated that Tolkien was inspired by the Ring opera when he decided to come up with a tale about rings.
You mean Wagner's Ring of the Nibelungen?
Yeah,
the Wagnerian opera cycle. Well, there is very little connecting the tale of what happens in the Wagner's opera and what happens in Tolkien's world, except there is some kind of magic ring with a curse on it, but that's about the extent of the connection. But can you imagine? I hope that this opera is. I wonder who the composer is going to be. The question forefront in my mind is: will this be modern opera, or will this be like Philip Glass or something really modern, or will it be written by someone with a more classical approach to writing an opera? And all bets are off on this. We don't know. I mean, just them getting granted permission to make it. Here we go. There it is. Composer Paul Corfield Godfrey. This is an interesting article. Godfrey had, for many years, been working on operatic excerpts from The Lord of the Rings, and during lockdown, he and Volante Opera folks had even begun recording excerpts, just in case, in air quotes. But the Tolkien estate had not granted permission for those works to be released. We can now exclusively reveal that Godfrey and Volante Opera Productions, as a team, have been granted permission to release recordings of the lockdown sessions. Wow, this is like when Elton John was doing lockdown sessions and ended up making great recordings and duets and collabs with other artists. And they were all released as the lockdown sessions. So this is really cool. It says here, there are 30 chapters intended to be performed over 6 evenings. The text is, of course, abridged. This is an adaptation of the Silmarillion, folks, not The Lord of the Rings, but uses as closely as possible Tolkien's own words, and fans can even look forward to an appearance by that most elusive of characters in all adaptations, Tom Bombadil. Oh dear. Wow. Okay. If you want to listen to what... There it is. It's on YouTube if you want to listen to some of Mr. Godfrey's compositions.
That's right. Wow. So go to the onering.net. You can see the whole article with a link to a sample of the music and the announcement. So, Cliff, this is like feels so fresh that the Tolkien estate and all the rights holders are making the rights available for opera. For CD sets, for digital release of operas. Yes. They're making traveling stage musicals of Lord of the Rings. This expands. I feel like all of this expands the culture of creativity and adaptations around Lord of the Rings.
I agree very much. And do you know what else this reminds me of? Other Minds and Hands, which is the title of a great YouTube series by the Tolkien professor, Corey Olsen. But it refers to that statement in Tolkien's letters where, he had thought about creating a large mythological framework and then passing it over to other artists, painters, sculptors, and dancers and musicians to have other minds and hands create within Arda. And that's amazing to see that the Tolkien estate is even allowing this. It's really kind of cool. Really cool, actually.
All right, I'm just checking in on CinemaCon. Again, CinemaCon opened with a confirmation on the release date of War of the Rohirrim in December. They just got finished showing the trailer of Joker 2, starring Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix, and
Folle adieu.
they posted the trailer online. So after this show, we're not going to show it during this show, because I don't trust that. I don't trust that movie to not be very disgusting and violent and
it might be a
crazy
real
look
downer.
at mental health.
I imagine that
a real downer.
Two will be a real downer. Oh no, I don't know, but just the trailer might be visually interesting. But hey, yes, Nerd of the Rings has now joined us in the chat. Hello there, good friend of our channel. It's great to have you with our community. Like it's equally great to have all of you with us in our community. So the update from CinemaCon is that they're showing stuff, but they haven't talked about War of the Rohirrim yet, have they?
That's right. Jack Black is currently on talking about the Minecraft movie that Warner Brother Pictures. So that is bordering on animation, right? I think Minecraft is a movie, but it's leaning toward a youth audience because it's Jack Black and it's Minecraft. So we're not done. CinemaCon isn't done yet. So we'll still keep on holding out, but we've got more news. We've got more news, Cliff.
Before we go on to the next stage of news, do you know one funny story that happened at CinemaCon when I was there? They were doing some kind of a promotion for a Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and they marched him out on stage. And when I say him, it was supposed to be Johnny Depp. It really was supposed to be Johnny Depp. But he came out on stage, looked exactly like him, but he just waved a couple of times, he smiled, and then they trotted him off stage again, which left many of us in the audience wondering, was that a Vegas impersonator? Was that the real Johnny Depp, or was that a Vegas impersonator? Because he said nothing, and he just wandered off. It was hilarious, really. And now I'm wondering, is the real Jack Black on stage? Or do they have a Jack Black impersonator talking about the Minecraft movie?
I'm refreshing the page, and it looks like Jack Black is on set somewhere else, and he's live via video or something like that.
So it is exciting. I cannot wait to hear the report that they showed 7 or 10 minute chunk of War of the Rohirrim, and everyone's just blown away. That's what I want to happen. I'm going to wish this into existence. I'm going to, push the force of my will against the fabric of the universe and make this happen. I'm going to make this happen. We're manifesting 10 minutes of the War of the Rohirrim, please. Haha, that's funny.
All right.
Zap Verasepa says maybe it was Penelope Cruz they brought on stage.
Well, while we're waiting for any updates from CinemaCon, we're still going to tell you the winner of Middle Earth March Madness in a moment. But I want to give you guys a deal alert. It was released last September. The Hobbit, illustrated by Tolkien. A wonderful, beautiful new edition last year of The Hobbit. Lovely. Only not featuring any artwork other than that made by Tolkien's hands himself.
Lovely.
It is on sale on Amazon.com and Target and maybe Barnes & Noble and everything else. And in fact, the whole 3-volume set of The Hobbit illustrated, The Lord of the Rings illustrated, and The Silmarillion illustrated is the 3 books are available for a brand new low price.
118
if you buy
bucks.
all 3. And I believe when these books came out, they were each around $100 each. So this is kind of like half price, maybe a little bit more, but it's about half price. So if you've had your eye on the J.R.R. Tolkien, again, this is only artwork by J.R.R. Tolkien. There's no John Howe or Alan Lee versions, but those are coming out. There's a new Alan Lee edition coming out later this year. Last year's J.R.R. Tolkien artwork editions are all on sale. So if you go to Amazon or Target or Barnes & Noble, you can see those prices. Other deals to be had.
What's the single price on that Hobbit by itself? I'm just curious.
It was 35, I believe.
Mm.
Originally $80 when it came out. They were not cheap.
Yep.
But
Indeed.
they were made great gifts.
Mm.
Augustus Prue is one of the actors in Rings of Power, and he has donated his elf ears from the first season of Rings of Power,
That's cool.
plus a Zoom chat with actor Augustus Prue from Rings of Power Season 1
How cool.
to a charity auction to support food and financial support and aid for Gaza refugees. This is wonderful.
Yes, indeed. That's cool.
If you've ever wanted, I know a ton of fans over the years have tried so hard and spent a lot of money getting screen worn elf ears.
Right.
There were a lot. There were a lot of them that were on eBay a while ago from Peter Jackson's movies. These are wonderful, cherished, prized collections, prized things to add to your collection, and Rings of Power is making its name for itself in the Legendarium forever. And so I feel like this is a pretty affordable price for screen-used elf ears from Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. And its current bid is $150. There's only 2 days left in this auction. And of course, it is a fundraiser for aid to Gaza. So it's just wonderful all around. And you get a Zoom chat with him. So imagine the questions you could ask him about the making of Rings of Power. That's worth $150 right there. Imagine the scoops. Some of you have always wanted a scoop of your own. This is your chance, And
I agree. I agree with Anonymous Girl in the chat who says his character had an unnecessary death in season 1. Yeah, you gotta kill a few elves to make a Mordor. You have to do that. I'm sorry.
Can't make an omelet without breaking some elves.
That's right.
And then, Cliff, before we get to Middle Earth March Madness, the final results. I just got the text message. We know who won, and we're about to tell you. I gotta edit the final slide of this PowerPoint. But I just wanted to bring up, Cliff, real quick.
Yes.
I sent you this earlier this week. The word delve has become a thing. And I don't know if you read it.
Yeah.
Cliff,
the word delve has become a thing. I've seen somebody said today that if they're looking at an application, a job applicant, and they can tell right away that they used ChatGPT bot to write their application by looking for keywords such as delve and other words.
Well, look at this data.
Yes.
A blue check Paul Graham says, my point here is not that I dislike delve, because we don't dislike the word.
We use it all the time in our world.
But that it's a sign that the text was written in ChatGPT. And folks, look at the data. The word delve only started getting used this much since ChatGPT took over. For some reason, ChatGPT loves the word delve. So what does this mean? Did the AI dig too greedily and too deep? Is the AI surfacing more Tolkien than anyone wants to admit? Has OpenAI and all the chat and all the GPTs and and all these large language models, have they paid the Tolkien estate to license all of the words that Tolkien wrote in all of his books? Because delve is a word famous from Tolkien's movies and books. And it's weird that ChatGPT is suddenly using that word all over the place.
I would use the word anyways. I would use that word on a typical day at least once or twice. What's wrong? I never ever use ChatGPT. Yes, thank you, Emily. It's a regular word that the British folks use all the time. Hey, guys, let's get into a good game night tonight, and let's delve into another adventure. I would use that word.
None of my friends have ever used that word. Only you, Clifford.
I do it all the time. I use it all the time. I mean, look, if you're running an RPG, like I often am as a dungeon master. If you're running a role-playing game or playing Dungeons and Dragons, you're going to end up using the word delve. It's just going to happen. So what? Okay, I would hate to think.
Look. I am not
You
saying
know
that
what?
it's
I
a
would hate to
bad
think that my
word,
resume
and
would get thrown out because I use the word delve, because I do.
and I'm not saying that it's an unpopular word. I'm just saying it is an unpopular word. I'm not saying it's a bad word. I think more people should use it.
Yes.
Uh, and you obviously agree because you try to use it in your daily language, and part of that is because you love Tolkien so much. So, could ChatGPT be changing our modern lexicon by reintroducing the word delve into a daily usage?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like,
Right.
is this a
Yeah.
good thing?
Well, you know what?
Th-
During the seventh is correct. In my usage that I just made an example of, you wouldn't delve into a big campaign for a game. You would dive into it, but you would delve underneath the surface of something to discover what was underneath. That's the more correct use of the word. Thank you.
Great comment from
Correct.
Nigel
Correct.
Champion on
Correct.
Facebook. There is a reason Tolkien put interesting words in his story. He was a linguist. And I
Hmm.
think that gets at the
Exactly.
core of this. Delve is an interesting word. It's maybe not a $5 word, but it's
Thank you.
$3.50. It's $3.50. Uh,
Thank you, Imran. Imran says that I'm an honorary Brit anyway, with my constant use of British idioms and the fact that I spell theatre with an R-E and I spell colour with a U. That's definitely, definitely a thing that makes me an honorary Anglo-Saxon Brit.
well, look, the point is that I
That's funny.
could not remember any use of the word delve in modern popular culture except for one use. This use in Lord of the Rings by Saruman, talking about the dwarves and how they delved too greedily and too deep. That is the only time I can ever remember that word. So it's very, very odd that suddenly the word delve is showing up in papers authored by ChatGPT.
Hmm.
Not just resumes, articles, papers, studies, scientific journals. The word delve is being used a lot, and no one can explain it except from ChatGPT being used in a lot of this writing.
You
Cliff,
know
do
what?
you think Tolkien himself would find this fascinating? He is a linguist.
He would.
He loved
He would.
studying language. Do you think he would be fascinated with how ChatGPT is using language?
He would be horrified. Fascinated is not the word. He would be horrified to think that the creative process of understanding language and the language's history, the impact and the use of certain words in certain ways will convey much more through deliberate application that can only be given through human thought, human wisdom, and human experience. To to actually give the language a robust usage. I think that he'd be horrified at other uh, data tools that scrape other authors' work and then string together machine, style
Well,
wordings.
you and I disagree on AI. I think it's fascinating that a $3 word is being brought to use
Hmm.
more often.
Well, there's one thing to say about whether the tool can be helpful. I mean, even my boss has asked me to use ChatGPT for wedding ceremonies. And he said it this way: don't use the ChatGPT to write an entire wedding ceremony, just get some ideas from it. Put in a couple of prompts, and it'll give you back some sentences, and then you can take what you want and work with it, revise it. They might just give you some creative ideas of some direction you might be able to go. But my boss has never said use it to completely replicate whole cloth an entire wedding ceremony. And and I know he's probably going to watch this later and give me a phone call later, but I have never once used Chat GPT, period, for any of my wedding ceremonies. I don't do that. I just don't. I write everything myself with my own brain pan, and
Are
the
you more
molecules,
likely? Are you more
molecules
likely to
within.
use it since it's using the language like Delve? Are you more likely to use it now that you know it's using good words?
No, I mean, probably for the next year and a half, anybody who uses the word delve will put an asterisk next to it and a footnote in their paper that says, I promise you I'm a real human. I wrote this. you, you're going to have an asterisk by every use of the word delve for any well meaning person who is an organic writer, a human being, who isn't using ChatGPT. So you have to use it as a disclaimer now. I'm going to disclaim that I'm like really human here. But I tell you, the uh, the concept of whether Professor Tolkien would be fascinated by it, no, I don't think that he would be fascinated by it beyond
I disagree.
abject horror.
Nope.
Really,
I think Tolkien would have loved these large language models. It's called large language models, and he was a
that's exactly what they're called.
linguist and a study, and I think he would have loved Twitter. I think he would have loved and been fascinated to watch the progression of language across cultures around the world because of the access to Twitter. And I think there's a lot. There's a lot going on, and that's a bigger discussion about language. But Cliff, I think, well, our final update from CinemaCon, Warner Brothers is over. It's done. They ended with the trailer of Joker 2.
Okay.
So, but importantly, folks,
they didn't show anything from War of the Rohirrim. Whoa! That
importantly,
itself
folks,
is the news.
The news is they opened their presentation. They opened the conference with Rohirrim, the very first feature film.
Okay.
The very first feature film from all the studios at CinemaCon 2024. The very first movie to get talked about was Lord of the Rings: War in the Rohirrim. That should tell you how important this movie is.
Okay. Cool.
That's a big deal to open the entire CinemaCon conference, and your opening line is, "We want to give you an update on War of the Rohirrim."
I didn't even know that was the first thing they showed.
That was the first thing they showed.
Did our spy tell us whether they showed any segment from the film or any production process?
I'm not going to change what I said at the top of the show. We've reported on it, and it's coming this December. But it is time now, then. Now that we know that it's over, it's time now for Middle-earth March Madness. You guys have been voting for the last month. We do this every March. It is now April, so it's time to announce the winner of Middle-earth March Madness. Cliff, do a quick recap. What is Middle-earth March Madness?
Well, in honor of the great American pastime of creating a bizarre competitive bracket for betting purposes between college basketball teams, they do it every spring season in March. And it becomes, a way to bet amongst your friends to see how accurate you can be in guessing the winners of these basketball games. And for other gamblers, it becomes an addiction. But for our purposes, without any money changing hands, this is a popularity vote. You're making votes every few days to see which of these Lord of the Rings or Silmarillion or Hobbit characters or places or things are going to be outvoted against others. And every year we have a big, successful social event where we encourage people to come take a look at this really fun competition we made, putting different theme. And this was a theme this year, a really good theme, and it was called Magical Moments. So in prior years, where you were just voting on your favorite character or voting on your favorite place of geography in Middle Earth,
object or scene
or
from the movies,
we've done it all. We've done that all. Now you're voting on what is the most magical moment that you've seen or have read or seen in the books and the films. And here we go. We have been doing so many competitive brackets. Can we go and show our final two? Are we gonna? Oh, look!
There it is.
Let's start
the
with our
whole
final
bracket.
four. There's our final four. Okay. in the upper left corner, from the Hobbit region, in that division, the one that won out was Bilbo discovering a ring of invisibility. That was the winner out of all the magical moments in The Hobbit.
And it went up against Gandalf's return in the Two
From
Towers.
the Two Towers, yes. And that one down in the lower left division for Two Towers region was Gandalf the White returning to meet the three hunters in Fangorn Forest. So that's up against each other. On the other side, on the Eastern Division, so to speak, Fellowship of the Ring winner for the most magical moment was Gandalf fighting the Balrog on the bridge of Khazad-dûm in that epic, famous confrontation. And it is up now against the Witch King's death, who died at the hand of no man. The Witch King dies at the hand of no man, meaning he died at the hand of a hobbit and a woman. So that's where we are with those two against each other on the Eastern divisions. And much debate week after week here. If you've been with us on our live show, Justin, you've been one of the biggest parts of the debate.
That's right. I don't believe a lot of these things were magic, but you guys did a great job explaining how things are magic, even when they don't seem like it.
That's right. I'm afraid I've been far too casual about magic, said Professor Tolkien, and especially the use of the word, though Galadriel and others show by the criticism of the mortal use of the word that the thought about it is not altogether casual. But it is a very large question, and difficult, and a story which is largely about motives. Professor Tolkien offering some clarification there about how magic works in his universe.
That's right.
That was from letter 155. Okay, our debate on what qualifies as magic, magia and goetia, comma, fea and hroa. And that includes whether it comes from external sources or whether magic comes from the soul within, or from other external forces without. That also includes divine intervention. We talked a lot about whether divine intervention counts as magic in the world of Middle-earth. And another highlight of our big tournament was Gandalf and his situations dominating some of the biggest vote-getting rounds.
Because he's a wizard, and wizards are magic.
Absolutely. There was definitely a strong showing by the Rohirrim and their magical arrival at exactly the right moment of serendipity, at the right moment of fate, to come across at the Battle of the Pelennor Fields and save Gondor from destruction. Also, there was movie magic that stirred the most fan support, though the rebirth of the Shire post-Scouring proved resilient. And that was something
I don't believe that was magic. I don't believe like Sam planting seeds is magic, but you guys had a different opinion.
Though that's because he was given earth from Lothlorien, and he sprinkled just a few grains of that earth, that soil, and wherever he wandered around the countryside and sprinkled just a few minute grains of soil from Lothlorien, it became magic fertilizer, instant growth, powerful growth within a year of the fruits, the vines, the vegetables, and the trees. Huge.
Yeah. The big surprise was Galadriel and Bombadil's early exit. Yep. This is interesting. This is interesting to me because all of the marketing so far, the limited amount of marketing for Rings of Power Season 2 has mentioned how Galadriel, played by Morfydd Clark, gets her magic ring, and she learns to use her magic ring, and she's highlighted how Season 2 will be all about Galadriel using her newfound magic ring. And so it's interesting that in our 2024 matchup that she was voted out early.
Yep,
so
I agree. That was a surprise.
Is the magic of Galadriel not as influential anymore across the fandom? And then, of course, our finale is a iconic finale of heavyweights. This is the Final Four, as Cliff just described.
Yep, there they are.
Bilbo finds the One Ring versus Gandalf's Return of the Dead.
And look, he shows on the side how they beat out other. There were all the other matches that were beaten out to get to where they were. Oh, hey, this is the winner between Gandalf and his resurrection and Bilbo finding a ring of invisibility by a 63% winning vote. Gandalf, the White
Resurrection sure is magic versus
big time.
Bilbo finding a ring, which is just serendipity.
Whoa.
That's my opinion.
Okay. Well,
but take us through this road to the finals.
Mm-hmm. Big journey. Beating out all those other situations, including the river of the Bruinen being made to look like watery horses that wash all the Nazgul away. And this fight, this big confrontation scene between two Maiar spirits has made
also
it all
beat out Galadriel's telepathy.
Mm-hmm. Her mind reading.
Her mind reading.
And it beats out the silvery moon letters on the door of Durin. Yes.
Yeah, that was wild.
Indeed.
So this one had some crazy matchups, but again, this was my favorite going in. And of course, Eowyn.
Wow.
You did a better job of explaining how this is magic.
There is magic in the prophecy, but there's also magic that brought extra people into it that no one expected, because the Witch King was prophesied by Glorfindel, the Glorfindel who never shows up, and he got replaced by Arwen. That Glorfindel said that the Witch King shall never die by the hand of man. And that was it. And shall never be able to be killed by the hand of man. So put in the story of Frodo, Merry, Pippin, and Sam leaving the Shire, but before they get to Bree, they get captured by the Barrow Wights, the horrible undead ghouls under the barrows in the Barrow Downs. And Tom Bombadil rescues them. It's not in the movies, but you guys all remember it from the books. And as a gift, as a parting gift, Merry and Pippin and all the hobbits get these beautiful blades from Numenor. They're called the Blades of Westernessy, and there's magic in them. And so, centuries later, out here on the battlefield, there's the Lady Eowyn in disguise as Durnhelm, and before she gets the death blow on the Witch King, she chops off the head of the fell beast, and the creature is now on the ground, and the Witch King cannot fly around, so he gets his massive flail, and he's going to break some skulls. But right behind him,
sound like magic.
That dagger from the Barrow Downs, wielded by a non-man, by a hobbit, not a mortal man, but a hobbit, okay? Then that's distinction. It's not super clear how the magic works, but that's the way it is in Tolkien. He breaks through the what do you call it? He breaks the weaving of the magic. And the weaving of that magic that protects the Witch King is broken by Merry's stabbing him in the leg. And then he's no longer protected. And then Eowyn deals the death blow, fulfilling the prophecy. So, good question. Otaku Senpai in the YouTube chat is asking if the men of the West, the men of Numenor, were able to enchant their blades, or did they have an assist from the High Elves? And I tell you what, I'm very much thinking that up there near Lake Evendim, near Fornost, where the capital of Arnor was once upon a time, I do believe that the elves certainly were very friendly with the Northern Kingdom, and they probably did assist them in charming those blades. So this is the big moment. The Witch King being destroyed up against the Balrog being destroyed. Wonderful confrontations, and the winner barely by one vote. Holy McHolies. Do you believe that? 1 vote winner. I cannot believe it. A 1 vote win. Wow.
Every vote counts, my friends. Every vote always counts.
Wow. So now it's Gandalf up against Gandalf for these magical moments. Wow. Gandalf battling the Balrog beat out Eowyn's confrontation.
So
with
it's
the Witch
basically
King
Gandalf
by one
dying
vote.
versus Gandalf resurrection. Which is more magic?
Wow, I'm just really impressed with this. Wow. Well, you know what? We have the winner because the voting is closed already, right?
The voting is closed. I have the text message. Are we
Hmm.
ready?
Guys,
Are we ready?
let's speculate.
Let's see it in the chat room. Who do you think won? Who do you think is the most magical moment winner of 2024? You can't just say Gandalf. Which one do you think won here? Gandalf's resurrection or Gandalf fighting the Balrog? I want to see it in the chat room. Who do you guys think won this matchup? This
Really,
magic
really
matchup.
shocked. I'm really shocked as well. Like some of the people in our chat.
So we've everybody's all over the place. We've got Paul says the resurrection, but Daisy says the Balrog. Otaku says resurrection.
Yep.
We've got more resurrections. Emily says I choose Gandalf resurrecting as more magical.
Zap Vera
Honorable Viking is
Yes.
resurrection. Anonymous Girl says resurrection. Gustavo is over on Discord and says
Hey, that's
the
right.
battle with the Balrog. Orion's Angel says battle with the Balrog is the pinnacle in movie history. I agree. The most magic for me is it's just so much magic for the screen. We've never seen so much magic on screen. You have a giant creature of flame and shadow with a fire whip and wings of flame and smoke versus the servant of the secret fire.
Wow.
And then Peter Jackson expanded on this moment with the opening scene of the Two Towers. I'm telling you, the Two Towers opening scene changed my life. It really did.
I agree with
Watching the camera, like I thought, as someone who hadn't read anything, the Two Towers opens up, and I think that we're watching a recap of the craziest moments from the first movie to get everybody caught up. But then the camera follows Gandalf down, and he grabs his sword. Is that Glamdring that he grabs in the air? And he starts fighting a Balrog in the air. It's just crazy. Cecilia says,
Wow, yes.
resurrection. It's just, yes, Nigel, you can't have one without the other. But you can only vote for one. So, I don't know. But let's see. Anonymous Girl says, change my life too, but still going with resurrection. Man, I think the overwhelming majority of our chat room live today voted for the resurrection. And you guys, I've got the winner right here. Ladies and gentlemen. Well, Cliff, I told you who I voted for. Cliff, do you want to share which one you voted for the most magical moment?
I voted for Eowyn killing the Witch King. So I'm still.
That's not an option.
I know. That's why I'm so shocked. I'm so shocked that we're here.
So what did you vote in this final matchup?
In this final matchup, I voted for Gandalf the White returning in Fangorn Forest.
Wow, a lot of resurrections. All right.
Yeah.
Folks, I need to find a drum roll sound effect, but I don't have one. So you can imagine.
Do it for you. I'll do it for you. You ready?
Ladies and gentlemen, your 2024 Middle Earth March Madness Magical Moment Champion.
There you go. The winner. Wow. The winner is Gandalf fighting the Balrog. And wonder what the percentage of votes was on that. Wow.
Incredible matchup, incredible voting. We had more votes than I think we've ever had in Middle Earth March Madness. It's been so much fun.
That's great.
Voting with everybody. So that is your 2024 champion. The chat room got it wrong. The chat room got it wrong. And this is why we tell everybody, every vote counts. Every vote counts. It really does. And this scene barely made it to the finals by one vote. This scene barely made it to the finals by one vote, and because it made it to the finals, it won by a majority.
Crazy.
This is Higgy Baby says the
Crazy
true
pants.
magical moment is the friends we made along the way.
Oh, that's so true. That's very true indeed.
Let me see if they updated with percentages.
That would be cool to know
here.
what those numbers were.
Gandalf the Grey takes down the Balrog with 56% of the vote.
Whoa, 56%. Whoa. There you go. Well, you do make an excellent point, Justin, because the scene in the movie of Fellowship of the Ring was so iconic that Peter revisited the whole scene again at the beginning of The Two Towers, and then went in a different point of view with the characters as they fell from the bridge. And it was just breathtaking. It was amazing. What an amazing.
By the way, one of the most famous scenes in movie history that was featured in the trailers that everybody can quote. When you think of Lord of the Rings, you think of the wizard saying, "You shall not pass."
Yes.
That's not in the book. Is it, Cliff?
It's a little bit different. Thank you, Paul, for being with us.
It's not in the book. It's a change by the filmmakers. The book says you cannot pass.
Yeah, it's just a slight change. Yes,
but it's a change nevertheless.
Indeed.
If we're gonna talk about words, this show is all about words. Like Delve, words matter according to Tolkien. Do you think Tolkien would have appreciated that word was changed from this really important scene?
I'm having trouble using my Ouija board right now to talk to the ghost of Tolkien and find out what he really thought about all these things.
Orion's Angel wants to know, was it in the Bakshi? What was it in the Bakshi version? In the Bakshi version, it was you cannot pass. Ralph Bakshi was faithful to Tolkien's book in this regard.
I don't immediately remember if there was any tiny change in the syntax or the language in Ralph's version. I can look at them back to back and see if there is. But, And the runner-up? Is that the runner-up? Gandalf the White returns.
That's his newfound white power. Wow, I didn't mean to say that. That's his newfound power that Gandalf the White uses in the Return of the King. He did not have that power in the as Gandalf the Grey with 44% of the vote. So that's kind of a big difference. But Balrog, I'm telling you, a Balrog fighting a wizard is more magical than almost anything ever put to screen.
Yeah, I would say. But again, remember when we talked about how the Istari were forbidden from showing power in equal measure against the enemy? That was scene is in the book. That's a little bit of breaking the rules, I think, to me.
So both of these scenes break the rule. One with just a word, and one with a major rule breaking. Like the gods would be unhappy. The gods must be crazy at Gandalf for doing this.
Well, you notice how sparing. Excuse me, but do you know how much trouble PJ could have gotten into? Because he was showing Gandalf using this incredible power against the Nazgul, but he didn't use it ever again later on in the Battle of Minas Tirith when things were much worse during the siege. So, again, it looks visually amazing. It's an incredible piece of construction, of cinema, and it is powerful as cinema. But even knowing movie magic the way I do, I still feel that the director and the writers were putting themselves in a dangerous gray area there by letting Gandalf blast the Nazgul away with the bright magic from his staff.
It looks cool though. It looks
Yeah,
cool.
it looks great, but he just didn't use it later on in the film. So so there you go. There's that. Hey,
So there you go.
congratulations,
Thank you.
Gandalf.
Thank you everybody for voting. You know what? It is the friends we made along the way, and it's been so wonderful. The debates that we've had. I feel like I've learned a lot about the underlying lore of so many things over the last 4 weeks as we've been doing Middle Earth March Madness. And Cliff, thank you so much. You've been a great teacher and tutor of along with Jim and Kathy and Kirsten and Chris, everybody helping out on this, and everybody at the One Ring staff. But thank you specifically, you Clifford Broadway,
thank you
for teaching me so much about the lore and how seemingly mundane things like planting a seed in the ground is made magic by Tolkien's imagination.
I really do appreciate that. I really do. And thank you. And you will learn, to your great satisfaction, Justin, you will learn so much more once you crack open the pages of the book and give it another read. Or not. And look at the chat.
I'll wait for this magic to show up on screen.
So funny.
Well, folks, thank you so
today.
much. Thank you so much for being in this chat. It's wonderful chatting with you. We love doing this show.
We do. It's wonderful.
And the reason we love doing the shows is connecting with you, the fans, every week, talking Tolkien, and just and giving you the live updates from CinemaCon. Again, to recap today's show, CinemaCon was happening as our show was going on from Las Vegas. Cliff was there during the Hobbit years to see the first footage ever of HFR 3D Hobbit.
Boy, was I surprised.
And today, Lord of the Rings is so important to Warner Brothers that it is the first movie they mentioned at the entire convention.
Super
of
cool.
All the studios, Warner Brothers went first. I believe Universal is tomorrow. And then there's Lionsgate and there's Disney. But Warner Brothers went first, and the very first movie to be talked about at CinemaCon is Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim. We can confirm officially the date is December 12th. We are spending this holiday season in Rohan.
Back in theaters, back to see a new Lord of the Rings movie in theaters again. Terribly exciting. Very exciting indeed. Now,
super exciting. Thank you, everybody,
so
for joining us. And, a quick programming note.
Yes.
We have a very, very, very special show next week. And we hope you guys will be here. We will be here with you because we've been working on this this interview for a long time. I'm so excited.
Are you gonna announce it now, or are we gonna surprise everyone next week?
No, let's announce it, Cliff.
Shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay. I am thrilled. I am so thrilled to say to everyone, next Tuesday, right here on theonering.net, we will have an amazing exclusive interview with somebody just outside of the world of Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit filmmaking, but somebody so exciting, we had to talk to them about the work of the Lord of the Rings movie making and cinematography and all kinds of magic that is made behind the camera. We got a wonderful interview with Oscar winner, cinematographer of Dune and Dune Part 2 and Star Wars Rogue One. Yes.
And Star Wars Mandalorian.
And The Mandalorian. We are having a wonderful interview with
and the Batman with Robert Pattinson.
Matt Reeves is the Batman, and Catherine Bigelow's Zero Dark 30. We're talking to the cinematographer, Greg Fraser, the Australian cinematographer and Oscar winner, Greg Fraser, who is getting all the world's attention right now, working with Denis Villeneuve on his incredibly popular, and deservedly so, incredibly popular Dune films. And we talked to him about none other than cinematography that Andrew Lesnie did. And we all love Andrew Lesnie's work.
I can't wait to talk about all of the
so
stuff.
Great.
We
talked about so many movies that he made.
Australia and New Zealand are considered kind of one filmmaking kind of industry.
Ecosystem. Yeah, they're a big
the
ecosystem together. Yes.
So Andrew Lesnie and Greg Fraser are probably the two greatest cinematographers to come out of that ecosystem. And rest in peace, Andrew Lesnie. He won all the Oscars for Lord of the Rings. Of course, he did The Hobbit with Peter Jackson. And who better to take up the mantle of Australia and New Zealand's best work than Greg Fraser, who and we've got so many things to talk about with him. On my notes. I want to talk to him about Andrew Lesnie at length. I want to talk to him about all these geek franchises. He's worked in Star Wars, he's worked on the Batman, and he's worked on Dune. And as we know, Tolkien didn't really like Dune. But Tolkien did. He tried to read it and he just gave it up. So there's a lot to talk about. And so we're really excited. Next week, same time, same channel, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on the OneRing.net. We're really excited to talk with Greg Fraser, the Oscar-winning cinematographer of Dune.
Very exciting. And he was so generous with his time and his answers. Great conversation we had. And we're very pleased to bring that to you guys next week, right here at the OneRing.net. And as we close the show here, we want to say thank you to Jim Wirt and all the other volunteer folks behind the scenes at the OneRing.net who helped put together the big bracket for March Madness. A lot of effort behind the scenes. So much stuff went into that you all never saw. It was a lot of work. But the payoff was really fun, and the energy was delightful to share with all of you. Justin, thank you for handling all the technical buttons and levers and the things that you push and pull behind the green curtain to make the great and powerful Oz work the way he works in front of the show. It's great. Lovely chat, including Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Discord, YouTube. Everybody joined us. It's lovely to have you all with us. Good question. Did Tolkien like Batman? We have no idea. We know that he did not like Frank Herbert's Dune, but we have no idea if he liked Bob Kane's Batman. We don't know. Going that far back into the 50s, he would have been aware, I'm sure. But here's the thing. We're going to have a great experience. Next week, I'm afraid we won't be taking live questions because we had all of our questions ready. Maybe.
I've got a list.
Oh, you might actually take some live. Okay, good.
But if people come up with stuff, like we've got the hotline. Okay. So
all right. Good.
We'll see you next. We'll see you next week for a very special. I'm so excited.
Me too.
I'm so excited.
Wonderful. You guys take good care of yourselves. This is the end of another wonderful Torn Tuesday. This week, we'll see you next Tuesday at 5:00 p.m. Pacific time for another wonderful round. And this time, get ready because we are talking to the guy behind the most amazing reappearance of Darth Vader coming in at the end of Rogue One, and the most amazing sandworms and spice harvesters and crazy things, and the way that he made Gotham City look. Oh man, such a great conversation we're going to have with Greg Fraser next week, 5 p.m. on Torn Tuesday. In the meantime, follow me, QuickBeam2000. I'm on Twitter and Instagram, QuickBeam2000. That's me, Clifford Broadway. And you can follow us on our Discord and all of our other socials at the OneRing.net. Just take the dot out of it and you'll find us online. Thank you so much. You folks are the best. And I'm really appreciative of all of you being with us as a wonderful community all these years. Until then, do take care of one another and be kind and support one another because we're all we've got right here on this beautiful blue marble floating in space. So, good night and good luck. Or better yet, buenos noches y buena suerte. Bye-bye, everybody. We'll see you soon.